With Halloween approaching, as Christians think about celebrating, here are a couple of questions for us to consider. What are we celebrating? Some will say that to celebrate Halloween is an attempt to connect with the occult or to connect with these evil spirits. Now, when we look at the Old Testament, attempts to connect with the occult or evil spirits is always intentional. A good example of this is the story of Saul trying to connect with Samuel. Now, it's important to know that you can make the argument that this was a good thing because Saul was trying to reach to Samuel. Saul went to a witch. This is the problem, and the Lord is very clear. He condemns this. Right, it's not something he approves of. Other thing to note is that Michael Heiser spoke with Jordan Paper. Jordan Paper is a self-identified pagan. Now, Jordan Paper clears up for us that this idea or this attempt to try to connect with the occult or with spirits is not something that can happen by accident. It's something that is intentional. You have to want it. You have to make an effort to connect with these spirits. It's not just going to happen by accident. Another question for us to consider is if you choose to celebrate, how are you celebrating? I think it's important for us to be wise and to exercise good discernment. What are you and your family going to decide to do as you celebrate or don't celebrate Halloween? Another couple things for us to consider, and I think these are more or less guidelines or markers to keep in mind, is costumes that are too revealing should be off limits. Costumes that embrace overtly evil characters should be off limits. Costumes that promote witchcraft, and specifically divination of any source, should be off limits. Now, I remember as a kid, and you know, people would come to the door, or so that they wouldn't come to the door, we would shut off all the lights, right? We shut off the light outside, pretend like no one's home. My mom would ask us to keep it down so no one would really stop by. And as Christians, I think we shouldn't do that. We should take a different approach. We should use this as an opportunity to evangelize. Use Halloween as an opportunity to share the gospel. Now, for over the past few years, what me and my family have done is, we'll get the bags, we'll get the candy, and we'll get the kids involved. They'll help us kind of get the bags ready. We'll put the candy in there. We'll throw a invite card to the church. We'll throw a gospel check in there. Throw a couple other activities for the kids to do, obviously relating to Jesus, related to the gospel. I think it's important for us to know as parents, right? We should be mindful. If you have the opportunity to give the invite card or to give the gospel track directly to the parents, do that. Now, this year, what we're going to do is I'm going to get some stickers that will say, for parents or gift to parents. And I'm going to place those on the gospel tracks to try to, make that distinction, right? I want ultimately the parents are the ones that are leading the household, and we want to be mindful of that. A quote that I came across that I thought was very helpful and powerful. This is by John Frame in his book, The Doctrine of the Christian Life. And here's what he says. In its missionary labors in Europe, the church substituted its own holiday for some pagan observance. In the modern West, Halloween is essentially a mockery of ancient paganism. It is not paganism, but a celebration of the gospel's victory over paganism. I see no spiritual danger in observing that celebration as long as we and our children understand the difference between mocking paganism and endorsing it. I think it's a very powerful quote, and I would ask Christians, that are maybe too dogmatic one way or the other to consider this. Another resource I would recommend is Rose Publishing has a pamphlet that talks about the origins of Halloween. And it's probably about 12 bucks or so. If you don't want to pay for it, I would recommend going to YouTube and looking up BK Apologist. You can type in BK Apologist Halloween, and he has a great video where he shows that the origins of Halloween are not pagan. I'll catch you guys next time. Be blessed.